9th and the 10th of December this year. Professor Chidi Odinkalu, who let this out the bag, was speaking on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily.
There's a likelihood that we're going to be taking that at the next council meeting, as it may also be likely that we will be taking the killing of Festus Iyai, by the way. Because again, there are allegations about the circumstances in which he died, and it seems to me appropriate that if those allegations are, that given those facts and the fact scenario, again there is an interposition of a state actor. That's the facts alleged that he was on the road and a state actor was on the road and the state actor ran him off the road and he died. Now those are the allegations. If that is it, it seems to me appropriate that a National Human Rights Commission should be interested in that fact scenario. We also do have possibilities for coercive action. So we can order remedies in terms of damages. We can recommend prosecutions. We can do it, different forms of indictments. But I do think it is important in our little spheres of activity or responsibility that we do not shirk responsibility just because people who look powerful are involved.
The need for a sovereign national conference formed the subject of debate at a forum of political actors and civil rights activists in Abuja yesterday. While some participants at the forum believe that a sovereign national conference amounts to rendering the three arms of government incapacitated, others argue that it's the only way to give credibility to the national dialogue. Our correspondent Omilogo Nadi reports.
Members of the Presidential Advisory Committee on National Dialogue at the last phase of their interactive session in the 6th geopolitical zones of the country. As expected, the forum brought together lawmakers, traditional rulers, and members of civil society organizations. One after the other, representatives of diverse groups stepped out to make presentation on the matter at hand. The chairman of the FCT Steering Committee for the National Dialogue proposed a 5% allocation of the federal government revenue to the Federal Capital Territory and the establishment of a state assembly.
Since the inception of the Federal Capital Territory, there had only been 2 ministers that served up to 4 years. This is not healthy for this territory of very complex and sophisticated citizens. The minister should have a fixed tenure of 4 years. Therefore, you should compel Mr. President to do his selection of his minister very carefully, so that the minister will have a chance to see his projects through.
Another issue that came up was the duration and composition of the membership of the proposed national dialogue.
The true representatives of ethnic nationalities are allowed to express the feelings and concerns of their people. The strategy of consultations as presently adopted appears to differ remarkably from the previous experiences and holds the prospect of genuinely affording the representatives of key stakeholders the opportunity to express the concerns and preferences of the people.
For residents of the capital city, issues of resettlement of indigents of the nation's capital must be given top priority, as many of them have been rendered homeless owing to issues of land policy.
Nigerians need to be ratified so that it will give look and it will bring progress, sanity, peace to Nigeria.
In all, many of those who submitted memorandum for the national dialogue believe that Nigeria will remain indivisible despite its daunting challenges.
God, we are grateful for this opportunity.
And when News Track returns, darts fly at Obamacare. You get details on the foreign scene.
And in business news, Nigeria's inflation falls to 7.8%. We'll also have sports news.
Join us again.
It's a platform to ask and get answers to those personal questions bordering on your health. Every Saturday at 12:30 p.m., medical and non-medical experts in simple language address nagging questions on nutrition and fitness, cardiovascular health, growth and development, reproductive health and first aid and safety, and a host of other health conditions on Health Matters. Health Matters dispels general misconception about certain health conditions. For a better understanding of how to improve your health, watch Health Matters live, only on Channels TV.
Welcome back. Business news now. Nigeria's inflation fell to a fresh 5-year low of 7.8% in October, driven by falling food prices as harvesting begins. The figure was down slightly from 8% in September.
Data from the National Bureau shows that food inflation fell to 9.2%, down from 9.4% the previous month. Low inflation for several months now has put pressure on the central bank to slash rates for the first time in 2 years and loosen its tight liquidity conditions. However, as the Monetary Policy Committee prepares to meet next week, most analysts say it's unlikely to loosen its stance. The Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, ACON, has reported a loss after tax of 822.9 billion naira in its 2012 financial year. This, however, is a substantial improvement on the after-tax loss of 2.37 trillion naira the company posted as at December 2011. The company said its financial statement that it had a combined worth of about 100 billion naira, which represents about 5.7% of its assets. According to the corporation, it has purchased about 10,000 loans so far, which represents about 45% of its 2.85 trillion naira worth of total assets. And the Senate has scored the performance of the 2013 budget as unimpressive, even as it passed the medium long-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. Lawmakers in the upper chamber are concerned about what they say is the faulty process of arriving at the projections and the leakages which led to shortfalls in revenue. The lawmakers were also surprised that the executive is contemplating borrowing about 572 billion naira, which, if approved, would raise the country's debt profile to an all-time high of 8.25 trillion naira.
On the foreign scene, the Philippines aren't out of the woods yet. A U.S. aircraft carrier and its escort of 2 cruisers are due to arrive on the island to help communities hit by the typhoon Haiyan. The USS George Washington will expand search and rescue operations and provide a platform as well for helicopters to move their supplies.
Desperate Times has called for desperate measures as the international community struggles to get aid to the people. The top U.S. commander in the Philippines says that the U.S. military support will be on a large scale, and 2 U.S. destroyers have already arrived in the Philippines, and other U.S. vessels are expected to arrive in about a week.
And in the United States proper, barely 27,000 Americans enrolled for health insurance through its troubled federal website in the first month. But about 106,000 people were insured in total, most of them through the state-run websites. The Obama administration is depressed about the figure. It's originally estimated that 500,000 people will sign up in the first month, but Democrats reportedly expressed frustration about the botched rollout in a White House meeting yesterday. The federal website, used in 36 U.S. states, has been haunted by glitches since its October launch. The administration has pledged now that the portal will be running smoothly for a vast majority of users by the end of November.
President Obama said using it would be as easy as buying an airline ticket on kayak.com or buying a television on Amazon. This is an insult to Amazon and Kayak. On the day of the launch, President Obama should have known the harsh lesson we have all learned since that time. And that was, they weren't ready. They weren't close to ready. This wasn't a small